Swazdullah, you turkey neck pinheads, how the hell are you? Holy moly, it's been a minute, hasn't it? How have you guys been? Let's just get on with that before we hop into the video. How have you guys been? Have you guys been doing okay? I've been seeing some comments happening here and there. I haven't been gone. I have been following my own channel, seeing what's happening, and I'm curious. How are you guys? How have the last several months been without me? Probably delightful. I agree. No, but just a quick update. I'm doing pretty okay. I'm sick now at the moment. I'm on sick leave, unfortunately. But other than that, I'm doing pretty okay. I'm having another child. It's going to be a daughter this time, which is pretty exciting and amazing, and I'm very, very happy. So come January, I will have another demon spawn, and yeah, I got a car now as well, so that's kind of nice. I'm loving my job, and yeah, everything's going pretty okay, I'd say, for us right now. Thank you for asking, so kind. But anyways, let's hop into the video now. Of course, it's about Veilbreaker. You guys know how to read, you can see the title. So Veilbreaker, is it Veilbreaker or is it Failmaker? I've seen a lot of different opinions, and to be honest, there are quite a few hateful ones out there, and in my conclusion, I think we can probably deduct that those hateful opinions about Veilbreaker are probably just stuck up, pissed off, Wukong monkey brain boneheads, because there's nothing bad about Veilbreaker, not really at least, because you have to say one thing if you're going to be completely honest. The Veilbreaker update is one of the best updates that we've seen in years, probably even. Now, I know that's quite a mouthful, and especially coming from me. You guys know that I am, or at least used to be, one of the most known critics of Warframe. Not negative, toxic bitch. I said critic, okay? There's a difference. Get it right. Coming from me, this maybe come across as a bit surprising, because like, wait a minute. You like something that DE did? What the hell? Let me try to explain. So, Veilbreaker is a really good update for a couple of reasons. For one, and this is also leaning towards some of the complaints that I saw about it here and there, you know, to Twitter and some Discord, and especially on live streams, I see a lot of very mixed opinions, but a lot of people kind of complained about, like the overall system of how you have to acquire the items and the new shop that they introduced. Well, yes, there's a new shop and all that stuff, and you have to do missions in order to unlock the stuff in the shop, but it's like super reasonable. There's no syndicate, there's no standing, there's no nothing. The most interesting thing in that shop, in my opinion, is probably the new Warframe, and a lot of people seem to be a little bit upset that they have to do these Call of Duty sneak missions in order to even acquire the Warframe. Well, first of all, you don't have to do a lot of them. Second of all, if you actually put in a little bit of effort and you perform well by finding all of the rescuees and all that stuff, then you get way more points, or what's it called, stock, I think, which is what you use to actually purchase Dynax. But all that aside, you motherfuckers had 2 weeks to just log into the game and get the sumbitch for free, okay? If you didn't log in and get them for free within that 2-week period, then you really have no right to complain that you have to farm for them now. That alone blew my mind. The fact that DE went ahead and gave us the option to get the new Warframe entirely for free just for logging in, that was genius. That was fantastic, and I really hope that DE continues that trend and doesn't just do it as a 50th Warframe kind of celebratory thing. Because think about it this way, a lot of people are a little bit annoyed with the game loop that we have in Warframe, being, okay, new Warframe is released, now we're going to have some new game mode that we're not going to like all that much, or there's a tendency to not like new game modes for a number of reasons, but you have to do those in order to acquire the new frame. That, not even taking into account how often you have to do it, how much of a gamble it is because of drop rates and separate new reinvented resources that you also need, and then there's standing, and then there's standing caps and all this other shit that'll just kind of stop you from acquiring that Warframe quickly unless you spend money. And then once you have farmed through all of that, and maybe you're lucky and it only took you a handful of hours, maybe you're unlucky and it took you a couple of weekends, by the time you actually acquire the new frame, you're already burned out on playing the game. And then it doesn't end there, you also have to level the frame, right? So I'm sure that there are probably a lot of people, maybe you listening right now feel the same way, that there are a lot of people out there that they just can't really see through it to go through all of that hassle again and then get the frame. Because let's be honest, the most enjoyable thing about a new update that comes with a new Warframe is actually learning the new Warframe. I mean, am I wrong to assume that that's what it is for a lot of players beside myself? I like learning a new frame. I like finding a new build. I like fashion framing the newest Warframe and making it my own, you know? But I don't like to have to jump through 1,000 hoops before I can do that. And I think with the release of Styanax, this was done very well, where we had a 2-week period where all you had to do was log in and immediately get the frame entirely for free, and you could just go on your merry-go way and have a blast with them, because that's how I did it, and it was great. It was really refreshing. I took him, leveled him right quick, built him, tried him out in Mott, tried him out in Steel Path, and I was good to go. I was happy. I had my fun for the day, you know? That aside, though, you have the weapons and the very silly mods that you find in the Call of Duty shop. Mods aside, I know a lot of you guys are going to want to have the new weapons, and that's fair. I want them too. But, I mean, let's be real. Do you need these new weapons? No, not really. For years now, every single weapon that has been released is completely endgame viable. These weapons are no different. You have weapons in your arsenal right now. No matter what rank you are, no matter how far along in the game you are, you have weapons right now with which you can destroy level cap enemies. So, do you really need the new Call of Duty weapons from the Call of Duty store right now? No. But, you know, if you do a mission occasionally, even if you don't like them all that much, you'll still get there really quickly, because I find that the exchange for the currency that you need to purchase these things is super duper fair, right? So that's really nice. I also love the aspect of how the Veilbreaker update kind of has this, it leaves a bit of a mark on the world of Warframe. Let me compare this to the new war. The new war was supposed to usher in the dawn of the new war. Tenno, or I should rather say everybody, versus the Sentients. The Sentients come in from wherever the hell they came from, and they're ready to kill us all. And we have to fight for dear life in order to have any chance of not being extinct. And then the new war update hit, and it was a very long, very cool story quest that upon completion, that was just it. There was no war, there was nothing left in the game that resembled that a war had actually taken place at some point. It really felt like hyping something up for 3 years that was done in 5 minutes, and now it's back to business as usual. Now, with the Call of Duty quest, or rather with the Veilbreaker update in its entirety, there's more residual gameplay there. Like, for example, the camp, the Drifters camp. I really like the implementation that as you play these missions, you unlock more recruits, and your camp kind of grows and becomes a little bit more alive, and it evolves over time into like this hub that has some kind of a meaning to it. Now, I know, guys, I know it's not perfect, and I'm not saying that this is the end-all be-all solution for Warframe and Warframe's future, but this is a really, really good step in a phenomenal direction. And I really can't say anything bad about it. Sure, it could be better if you compare it to other games that have similar features, of course. But, I mean, the fact that it's just there in this raw form, even if it's maybe just DE tiptoeing into this direction, I think that this has massive potential for the future. I mean, I've mentioned base building in videos as old as 5 years ago, where we could maybe have a plot of land or something on one of the open worlds that would load at like an instance, like a dojo instance, for example, and you could build it there. Now, we have the building blocks to make something like that happen. We've got personal quarters, we have the actual dojos, we have Dormazone, we have all that stuff. Why not put it in a base on the ground on a planet of your choice? So that's going into a pretty interesting direction. I'm really looking forward to how that's going to happen. And like I said, the progression is pretty much weekly, and I really like that pace of progression, because there's like no hard cap other than time. You don't progress faster if you invest more or if you farm more or whatever. You just have to show up every week and do your job and you're good to go. And I think that that's a very, very respectable time investment, especially in regards to the Archon shards, which a lot of people are mad about that you can't farm faster. In fact, somebody on one of my recent streams came up with some math, and they said if you want to max out every single one of your Warframes with full Archon shards, and you would show up every week to do it, it would take you a total of 4 years to do that. And yeah, that is insane, of course, but think of it this way, guys. For those of you who are a little bit angry that you can't get these Archon shards faster, think of it this way. Archon shards are utterly unnecessary. You don't need any of the stats that you get from them at all. I mean, Warframe was released in, what, 2012? And literally within the first month of Warframe's release, players were already killing the hardest thing that the game could throw at us. Not just the hardest thing, but like the actual program limit of the game we were destroying within the first month or two of Warframe's release. And that has never changed. No matter what DE nerfs or buffs or changes, we are always capable of destroying level cap enemies. So with Archon shards, they're basically one extra mod slot for your Warframe, but with extra steps, which is also something that I had suggested a very long time ago, that if you put in a certain amount of work or complete a certain set of challenges or skill-based challenges or whatever, that players could and maybe should in the future be rewarded with an extra mod slot, perhaps. And that's pretty much what these Archon shards are, just with extra steps. But again, you don't need them. They're nice to have, but you don't need them necessarily. And you have to keep in mind, I don't think that the overall goal of Archon shards is to basically maximize your Warframes to get them to where they need to be in order to reach the highest levels of the game, because that's not the case in Warframe. We already have access to the highest levels. There is no higher level beyond what we're already destroying in the game. So effectively, Archon shards are completely pointless. I view Archon shards as a little extra with which I can edge closer and closer to just kind of perfecting that one particular frame or two particular frames, like my mag, for example. I'm really good with mag, as you guys know, but her greatest weakness is if I make a mistake and I allow her shields to go bye-bye, she's pretty much dead. So for me, I can use Archon shards to maximize her health a little bit further and maybe her armor a little bit further, just to give me a little bit more leeway, just a little bit more of a leash if I mess up and lose my shields. Just as an example. Another example might be maybe you main Harrow or something and you love your crits, but you would love to maybe drop a crit mod somewhere in favor of something else, like, I don't know, ammo mutation or more status or whatever your flavor is, but you kind of can't because you don't want to compromise your high crit performance build. Well, with an Archon shard, you could enable that particular Warframe, Harrow in this case, to, you know, loosen up a little bit on the necessary or mandatory mods. So it's just a minor tweak, or maybe, depending on where you're going, maybe a fairly impactful tweak that you can give to one Warframe at a time over a certain amount of time, to just put them, you know, where you want them and loosen up a little bit of the mod freedom that you have. It's not anything more than that, and I think that that's a decent idea. I don't believe that shards need to be acquired any faster. I think that this is a totally fine pace. The fact that it's a sortie basic style again is it's a little like, okay, we've been there, done that, but you know, it's just a weekly mission. It's a weekly mission. Technically you have 2 weeks time, depending on which days you do them. You have 2 weeks time to complete them each week, if that makes any sense. So that's really fair to me. As a long-term player, this is maybe one of the fairest updates that DE has done ever, because for multiple occasions over several years now, every update seemed very forced and, in a sense, also lazy, where it would look like DE would just pull some shit game mode out of their ass to force us to play it, reskin the enemies and force us to kill them, and reinvent or just invent new resources that they force us to farm for in ways that we don't really want to. And they put all of this in the way of the stuff that's actually cool and interests us. Like, for example, a new Warframe, or let's say Kuva weapons or something. You know, there are so many steps in between acquiring a certain item, even with the Zeramon, like, for example, a more recent update. There's so many steps in between acquiring an item that does the same thing that every other fucking item already does, which is just slay all day. So I think any form of easing up on that is actually really fair. All that stuff aside, though, talking about mechanics and economy of the Veilbreaker update, I think, and I don't know why this is exactly, somebody else must have been in charge of writing the Veilbreaker or something. I don't know, something's different. Maybe you guys noticed this as well. But is it just me, or did the writing overall for Veilbreaker update, everything around the Veilbreaker update, just seem a little bit more fleshed out, a little bit more thoughtful than a lot of shit before? Is that just me? I mean, I feel like pairing Khal with Kaylee, of all possible NPCs in the game, who, I mean, she's going to be our poster bitch now because she is fan service whore #1 in the game, so of course she's going to be everywhere. I would not be surprised if there would be a mod eventually someday with which you can see her in a bikini, but I mean, she's already half nude anyway, so probably not gonna have to bother. But regardless, I find that Khal and Kaylee put together are hilarious. I love listening to the two of those banter a little bit and just chat and have their verbal exchanges. They're just a really good pair, an unlikely but very good pair. And it just feels like the writing behind all of that had some thought put into it. Whereas a lot of the writing for other areas in the game, they felt a little quick, as if someone wrote them fast. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to put in words. I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but just overall, it feels like it's a little bit more fleshed out, like it's a little bit more ripe. It feels as if it isn't a rushed early release. That's what it feels like. So, well done, DE. I have to say, well done. So, overall, I really can't say anything bad about the Veilbreaker update or the way we have to acquire Archon shards. Sure, we could go into detail on how the missions are structured and how the enemies are the same again, but overall the experience isn't terrible. The Call of Duty missions, I don't like sneaking either. It's the reason why I hate Splinter Cell, for example. I don't like sneaking around. The only games where I enjoy sneaking ever is the old Hitman games and Cyberpunk 2077. That's it. I don't like sneaking anywhere else other than that. I usually hate it. And honestly, I can handle Call of Duty sneaking. It's all right. And I find that it's a very good change of pace. Once a week, or maybe twice a week, I can go play a Call of Duty mission. I can try to do my best to find every refugee there and save everybody and break as many veils as I can, or I can try to rush through it or whatever, and I'm good to go. You know, it's no more than that. After that, I can go back to my usual horde killing. So it's very fair, and it's just a nice, new, fresh experience, in my opinion. I also love the fact that the maps for Call of Duty missions are considerably different from the default tile sets that we already have. In a lot of areas, they're just downright gorgeous. I really like them. There was a particular area when I was playing just today, actually, where there was like a waterfall and a waterfall that to my left that dropped into a river that was under a bridge that I had to cross and then fell back into a waterfall. It was amazing. I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is nice. Like, I actually just enjoyed walking around and looking around and absorbing it all. What do you guys think? Did any of this make you feel a little bit differently, or how do you feel in general? Are you the 80% of the people that I asked on Twitter that like the Veilbreaker update, or are you one of the 20% that didn't like it? If you hated it, I'd love to understand why. Go ahead and explain in the comment section. Feel free to let loose and just hit me with what you got. Give me all of the thoughts. And if you liked it, please share that too. I'm curious to hear your opinions. I love lying awake in bed at night and reading comments, which is what I actually do. I do read comments as soon as they come in. Just because I ain't uploading in months doesn't mean I don't read every goddamn comment. I still read all that stuff. In any case, I just wanted to share that with you guys. If you haven't played Veilbreaker, maybe it's time for you to come back and give it a shot. It's not bad. It's pretty decent, honestly. If you weren't around right around the release within that 2-week window, then sorry, you're going to have to farm Steinax or buy him. You can't get him for free anymore. Sucks to be you. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in the next video, whenever that may be. Until then, stay healthy and safe. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to the shitty channel. And now, fuck off.